Greetings, welcome to the 50-mile march warm-up. We are going live today with my good friend Nate Amado, who was one of the leads and participants behind last year's 50-mile march. And we're also going to be joined by a special guest. This is someone who has become a real inspiration to Nate and to myself. After last year, we did a little live stream like this one and had a couple people tune in. And among those was the great Ying Zhang, who took up our challenge and not only did 50 miles, but she did something on the order of 50 to 150-mile marches in the course of a cross-country trek. So we're gonna bring Ying on here in just a second. But first, I wanted to chat a little bit with Nate. Nate, how's it going today?
Good, man. Another beautiful day here in Denver, Colorado. Got the sun shining and birds chirping. It's a good day.
Beautiful. Yeah, and same here in Berkeley. Looks like it's going to be nice weather this coming weekend, and we've taken a couple of lessons from last year's 50-mile march. The first one is to do it on softer ground. So rather than trekking on hard pavement all the way across the three bridges, we moved the starting point up a little further north to Point Reyes, the beautiful historic seashore, which is also a national park. And you walk down these trails, eventually coming to some beaches. There's Stinson Beach. Then you head up into Muir Woods, another historic kind of California icon. And then we move through the Marin Headlands, making our way finally, like last year, to the Golden Gate Bridge. But I think that this is a great American tradition, and it's needed today more than ever with what JFK talked about in that essay from Sports Illustrated, the soft American. Americans have only gotten softer since then, and so I
Yeah.
think that he's rolling in his grave. Now,
Yeah.
you and I, we're trying to do something about this. We're sort of pushing back on sedentary culture. Uh,
Mm.
and you're particularly, we're both MoveNat practitioners, but you in particular have a lot of sort of things going on in the MoveNat space, and you're on the official MoveNat team. What kind of
Mhm.
stuff do you have coming up?
So yeah, MoveNat, for those who don't know, is a natural movement fitness. It's just moving how our bodies have evolved to move, how they're designed to move. It's about biological fitness. You wouldn't see a tiger, doing bicep curls. It's like it has a natural set of movements that it does in the wild, and humans and every other animal are the same. We are not particularly good in any one movement. We're not particularly fast compared to a cheetah. We're not particularly good climbers compared to a monkey or a bear. But we have a very broad, diverse range of movement skills. And by doing these natural movement skills that are inherent to us, we become naturally fit. And so that's the basic idea of that. And coming up, I have a few events, going down to Albuquerque to do a women's only level 1 certification with Danny Clark, the curriculum director. And then we're having a level 1 and 2 certification here in Denver. And that's going to be a big one. I got a couple, 4 clients now who are going to be there. So that's going to be pretty cool, having a little private client party. But yeah, so it's that's what it is. And there's a few events coming up. Just hosted an Elements about 2 weekends ago, and that was a good turnout. And that's a great introductory course. It's a 1-day 6-hour course to kind of get the introduction, the elements of MoveNat.
I've always been curious about those elements things because they're day long workshops,
Yeah.
right, or a good part of a day.
Mhm.
And do you really? I guess you're trying to survey as much as possible, so it's
Mhm.
not quite as much time as a certification, which is usually a whole weekend.
Mhm.
But do you find that people come away with real, skills that they can use in their everyday life?
Yeah, so it's basically giving people the foundations, the the most important parts, the most elemental parts of natural movement within a 6-hour, 1-day workshop. And people from that get to take away what they can do on their own at home and start to build on their natural movement practice from there.
I love it. I love about MoveNet how it's just got this positive message about empowering people. And I think that among the natural movement types, we've probably seen above average skepticism of some of the lockdowns, especially, keeping people indoors. But it's
Yeah.
not like, the MoveNet organization or people associated with it are necessarily out there whining and complaining. We just go out and we
No.
do it. We
Right.
live our lives
Exactly.
as freely as possible. And so, in the spirit
Exactly.
of that sort of bold outdoor Declaration of Independence and liberation, I think that I want to focus this conversation today on the positive aspects. Last year, the march turned into something of an unintentional protest where we were breaking the rules a little bit by gathering people together for this activity. But my message for this year's march is really about moving beyond indignation and resentment. Sometimes I find myself feeling those all too familiar sensations, bodily sensations of anger and at the prospect of continuing to be masked, or at the prospect of needing to show my papers in order to go to a restaurant or a movie theater or to travel.
Yeah.
So I'm also kind of thinking of this year's as a little bit more of a pilgrimage. And this is an older notion than the 50-mile march, but it has a lot of long tradition of people taking these religious pilgrimages where there's a little bit of the mortification of the flesh. You're disciplining your body and you're sort of following a goal through to its conclusion. And so I think that this is where, in particular, I want to hear from our special guest here in a minute about the nature of walking as a kind of pilgrimage. There's the physical element, obviously the physical hardship, but there's also the spiritual element. Without much further ado, I'd like to see. We're going to bring Ying on here, and
Hey.
let's test our connection here. Ying, can you hear us? Are you coming through?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
So,
Wow.
so you're coming to us from. Are you still in South
I'm in,
Carolina?
yeah, I'm at Myrtle Beach. I'm spending time with my mom right now, having a little vacation right
Yeah.
now.
Much deserved vacation after that trek.
I can't believe it. I so can't believe it. And it's so funny that I'm talking to you guys. Like,
Well, yeah. I mean, when was it? Was it maybe around March of last year that we?
yeah, that I decided to join in on your stream here, talking about this. It's
Yeah.
so crazy to believe it.
Yeah. Well, we can't believe it either.
Yeah.
How many miles was that total?
Well, I walked 3,148.5.
Wow.
Whoa.
So over
I'll just round up.
60.
I'm running out to
Right.
3,200. 3,200.
3,200.
Round up a
Almost
little.
3,200.
Almost
Damn.
3,200.
So as a movement nerd, and particularly things like walking and walking, I love to explore all these areas of kind of improving walking technique and things like that. I want to start off with just a question about, does it get easier over time, or does it get harder? Were you putting in more miles earlier on and then you had to sort of taper back, or did you get into a groove where you could walk more than you could initially? Like how do you think your strength, your walking technique compares to when you first started?
I'm sure I improved my walking technique. uh, so I always have this tendency to overestimate myself. So I was very disappointed when I thought I could do 20 miles, starting off. Well, I should have started slow. I should not have pushed myself to force myself to do 17 miles the first day. I really suffered doing that. And I should have taken it easy, you know, gradually like ease into it. Um, I do find when you're walking, to try to keep your toes pointed forward, like straight, because I noticed like my shoe tread. You know, when you look at the bottom of your shoe, it was like a little too much on the outside, and it's like I just did some googling. There are other people, you know, who walk across the country and some who walk around the world. And
Wow.
Wow.
this one guy talked about walking technique, how to like try to keep your toes pointed forward, not too much out and not too much in. And
That actually shows up in a lot of the literature and advice on walking. And at first I saw this and I was a little confused because I was like, don't people know you point your feet forward when you walk, but it's true that little adjustment from slightly out, to really straightforward makes a big difference, I guess.
yeah, because a lot of people don't walk too much. I mean, when I
No.
was walking across the U.S., the thing you realize is that this country is built for cars. It is not built for anybody walking. Like
No,
otherwise,
that's
it would
true.
look totally different. Like there would be a lot more shoulder and possibly like a lot like way more sidewalks because this country is built for cars. I've walked on some terrible roads.
How many pairs of shoes did you go through?
I was only on my third one. I
Okay.
didn't.
Wow.
I think it depends. Like, I think if you walk more efficiently, you don't use that many shoes. So
Yeah.
I only I used 3.
Right. It makes sense, and I think that that shoes are sort of a proxy for the rest of our body in a way. If we're wearing out our shoes less often, maybe hopefully we're also wearing out our legs and our knees. Do you feel like you have any sort of lingering pains, or now it's been what, a little less than a week, right? So uh, have you
I
had time to fully recover, or are you still nursing some?
so it took me 11 months, and I got to say it's kind of because I took a lot of breaks,
Yeah.
and I don't have any problems. Like I don't
Yeah.
have anything going on. Right? I never got injured.
Nice.
I take care of
remember.
myself. You know, I like taking care of myself. I
Yeah.
don't. I take a lot of breaks, so
That's good.
I don't have any injuries or pain. While I'm walking, with my pack, that's it really hurt here, like where the straps are. You know, where the straps are, it was hurting, a lot, but yeah, I don't have anything at all.
I remember early on, maybe it was after the first day, you said something about getting some hardcore blisters on your feet. Was that after you went gung ho and went 17 miles your first day, and then
It's
how did
hard
you
to.
adjust?
You're cutting out a lot. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so early on you said some pretty gnarly blisters on your feet, right?
Yes,
Was that after
that's
going 17 miles in a day, and then how did
yeah.
you adjust after that?
Oh gosh, I don't know how I got through that pain. They were like golf ball sized blisters on the
Oof.
balls of my.
Oh
They were literally. I have a huge callus that's like the size of a golf ball.
my gosh.
And in the beginning, the hardest part were the blisters, and part of it is I wasn't wearing the right shoes. It wasn't fitting properly. It was rubbing too much, and I was too stubborn to change my shoes out. But
Yeah.
that was so painful. I don't know how I got through it. Some of these things, the only thing that I feel like really got me is like God gave me the strength, because I honestly I'm not even like a huge fan of walking. So it's the mental struggle to walk so much almost every day. You know, like
Mm.
I sometimes really don't. It's really God who got me through this. And nobody who does something like this, nobody can do it on their own. Like
Mm.
there's always somebody on the road there to help.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the thing about this journey is that you realize there's a lot of good people in this country. There are a lot of good people. And you don't realize that on the media. You know, there's always so much negativity, but the truth is there's a lot of good people. And nobody walks across the country and can do it on their own. Nobody. They always have somebody's always there to help. Somebody.
That's awesome.
I think that was one of the ideas that I picked up from following your Instagram stories. You would find different people along the way, places to stay. Did you have in your itinerary any kind? Where did you stay for the most part? It sounds like sometimes churches opened their doors, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes you had to, sleep outside on the front porch, or sometimes they wouldn't even allow that.
No.
What did you encounter?
A lot of times I camp on the road, and it's really God who I pray to God to always provide me a safe spot to sleep, and He always has. I've never had any problems. It's kind of crazy. It is stressful. I never planned anything. Just so you know, I didn't plan.
Just went with the flow.
Sometimes I try to plan, and the miracle is like the last week of this journey is when everything actually went according to plan. But throughout most of it, I didn't really plan anything. I just kind of picked a distance, sort of, and I looked on Google Maps. Google Maps is kind of my life.
Yeah.
I use the satellite mode so I can look what's around me, and sometimes I just zoom in and like, oh, that looks like a good patch of land, or like looks like there's trees around, or something like that, and I pick that spot, and it worked out.
So you did a lot of camping then?
Yeah, I camped out a lot. I camped a lot on this last portion. I camped a lot in churches, in their yard area. And a lot of times in the beginning, I asked permission, but sometimes like this last week, I just camped there. I didn't ask, but I felt like it was okay. I always get this feeling, I follow my gut. Follow your gut. It works.
Nice.
Yeah, but I
Again,
met people who
go ahead.
I met so many people who took me in, and obviously I feel like it's the right person. But yeah, I've met so many great people.
That's nice.
It's such a great message again with the positivity, and people have this sense that the whole world is a very dangerous place. There's a great quote. I think it was Werner Herzog, the film director, who said that the universe opens itself up to those who travel on foot. And I think that that added element of prayer and kind of keeping in mind that you are being sustained by another beyond your control, that putting that trust there, and to see that you made it 11 months, and it sounds like without any real incident of where that left you feeling scared for your life or like you were endangered. But I did see that there were certain stretches where you were walking along some roads, like you say, the country is built for cars, not for walkers. So how did you plan? How did you plan your route? And then there's also this question of hard pavement versus softer trails. Did you look for trails wherever possible, or did you mostly stay on city routes?
So I didn't really plan. Like I said, I kind of had a general direction of where I wanted to go. And there were many times where I'm on gravel roads, country roads, some dirt roads, a lot of dirt roads in Kansas, a lot of gravel roads through the mountains.
Yeah.
and your body really will adapt. Like if you walk on pavement for day after day, your body adapts to. Your body will adapt. Your bodies are really amazing. You know, it will adapt to you walking on pavement, but make sure you get right shoes. Like the shoes, man, you need to get good fitting shoes.
Mm-hmm. What kind of shoes did you opt for?
So the ones I wore during the last leg of my journey. Hold on. Oh no, it's in the car. They were. I think I forgot. The shoes that at first I tried to.
Clearly, you're not getting any money from the company to promote the brand.
No,
we don't have to worry about a conflict of interest.
So I tried the minimalist thing that does not work for this. Not for pavement.
Good to know.
Yeah, you're gonna beat your feet. You're already beating your feet up. You need support on pavement. Does not work for me. I don't know anybody. There's a Facebook group for USA crossers. There's people cross.
Interesting.
I don't believe a single one of them will ever recommend minimalist shoes walking across the U.S.
I think there's a good point
if you're walking on
go ahead.
trails like the PCT or the Appalachian Trail, I think there are a lot of people who, do minimalist shoes because you're walking on soft dirt, but not when you're walking on pavement or hard surfaces. Yeah,
I think there's a good point there. Just a little quick recap of our 50-mile attempt last year. We did it mostly on concrete pavement, through the 3 bridges, and I was wearing minimalist shoes.
Yeah.
And at around mile 12, my feet started hurting. And by mile 20, I had to tap out. I was 20, 25, I forget. I had to tap out and call it quits. My foot felt pretty much locked up. I couldn't bend it anymore. That's how it felt in my calf muscle. And there's, like you said, we'll adapt to anything. But some of those adaptations can be maladaptations, right? They can adapt. Our body can adapt for the worse, right? That happens pretty often with modern things. And so there's definitely something to sticking to the trails when possible. Only if America would build a trail from one side of the country to the other, that would be nice. A completely, natural dirt grass path from one side to the other, no cars in the way. That would be amazing.
It used to be a lot more like that, but because of cars, everything is paved, and there's no shoulder on the roads. So in South Carolina, I feel like the roads are the worst here. There's just no room on most of the roads here, but God got me through. So there's always like a little break here and there where like you just keep going. Yeah.
I did see something recently. They are building a bike path from one side of the country to the other, from coast to coast.
Really?
But of course, that's going to be, smooth pavement as well. So maybe they'll have a little grass patch on the side, hopefully.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a walking trail, a
natural
trail. Yeah.
For sure.
So the timing of this was also a little bit unusual in that the country, has been in different degrees of, I call it lockdown or restrictions, and different states obviously have different policies, and you've had a chance to see a lot of different states. And did you notice differences in how people were responding to the pandemic, and how did that affect how people received you, for example? Do you think that they were more or less hospitable based on the fact that we're sort of in this this weird period?
The truth is, the more liberal the area, the worse it is. There's a lot of fear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fear. Okay, to be honest, yes, I don't want to return to Seattle, but unfortunately, I'm gonna fly back for a limited time. I'm setting a month limit, and I'm just gonna get out of there. But the worst.
That's where you're from originally.
The most liberal areas.
Yeah.
Where I walked through. I walked through Colorado. Colorado is basically like Seattle, but there's just less people.
Yeah.
Just less people, but it's pretty much the same. But like in the conservative areas, in the countryside, there's like nobody is scared about. I mean, they realize it's a thing, it's real, but nobody's fearful. Nobody's walking around with masks all the time. It's also true that people in the country and in the more conservative states believe in God. There's more believers, and when you have faith in God, you're not gonna have so much fear about things you can't control. Like you can't control a pandemic. There's so many things you can't control in this world. I can't control if a car is gonna hit me. That's like an obvious danger right there. And I'm walking right next to the traffic sometimes. I'm like right next to it. And they have to go around me because there's no shoulder. So but I'm not gonna stress about that. I mean, it's stressful. It's a stressful situation, But I'm not gonna stress. Oh, is that truck gonna hit me? Is that car gonna hit? No, I just, I have this sense of peace that, God wants me to do this, so I'm not gonna get hit by a car, and I didn't. And also, most of the people, 99% of the people I met were extremely kind. There are obviously not so kind people, but that's just 1%, and focus on the 99%. You can't control what's gonna happen in this world. You have a higher chance of dying in a car accident than anything else. And nobody's stressed. Oh, am I gonna get hit? Am I gonna get in a car accident right now? I'm gonna be driving here to there. No one's worried about that.
Yeah.
Like, I know that you want to be responsible and wear a mask to be responsible, I guess, to be respectful, but I think there's just too much fear. I said this in the beginning, and I got a lot of angry replies and on Facebook, but this is like a fear thing, and all those
welcome to the club. I think we've all taken some flack on Facebook.
In the middle of the country, all right? In most of the country, there's not that many places like Seattle where it's that liberal, except in Colorado and some other pockets here and there. But it's just crazy. It's just crazy how much ridiculous fear there is. I think that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, we've all been speaking on this topic for some time and getting a lot of flack. I just got out of a 4-week Instagram prison. They locked me out of my account not too long ago. And
Does that have a chilling effect, Nate, on what you post on Instagram, or are you gonna go right back to doing the same sort of stuff?
Yeah, I'm going right back to it. Still speaking the truth, still speaking my mind. I forgot who said it. I think it was Joe Rogan, his famous podcast. He was saying how we can't limit the speech of anybody. We can't limit the speech. We can't limit stupid speech. There's a lot of things people say out there. It's stupid. The media is probably the best example. They're just spitting fear all day long. And we can't limit that, but all we can do is speak better. We don't try to limit the freedom of speech. We just speak more truth to overcome that.
Totally. And I think that it also gets back to this idea of moving beyond indignation and, speaking the truth in a way that other people can hear it. And sometimes, not even using words, we can just use our actions, which are a form of speech or a form of expression. And if people see that you're just doing something in a healthy activity, or in the case of Ying, goes beyond that, it's really, demonstrating this, you know, incredible. It's a witness to what you can do, that's beyond your own human strength, and it doesn't have to be a protest to get people to think about whether their own attitudes toward risk might be a little bit out of whack. And I'm in Berkeley, California. It's another one of these places like Seattle where people have been living in fear for a really long time, and it still are for the most part, I would say. And I've like there's another quote: "People go mad in herds, or people go crazy in herds, but they only come to their senses one at a time." And you never know when your actions, maybe it's just walking around outside without a mask, or uh, you know, taking it down inside the grocery store or something. People see that and they say, "Hey, maybe I could try that too." And for every person who calls you out on it and asks you to pull it back up over your face, there are probably three people who are looking at you and are feeling slightly more bold about doing it themselves when the time is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ying, what are your plans now? You're from Seattle originally. That's where you started?
I started there. Yeah, I lived there 20 years. I was born in China and then moved to Canada. I then lived in Seattle for 20 whole years, and I never really planned on flying back, but I guess I'm gonna just return for a month or so, and then I want to officially leave for good.
It's kind of tie together the loose ends.
Yeah,
And
kind
then,
of care of some stuff, and
do you have plans to write a book about this experience, or do anything more with this? Or
I don't know. A lot of people ask me that if I want to write a book. Um, I don't know. I've experienced so much, and most important thing is how there's really a lot of good people in this country, and how like how a lot of people, especially when I was leaving, there was like the 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 riots going on and
Mhm.
everything, but some of the most generous people, they were all white, and I'm clearly not white, so they didn't. If I were a white person, probably it wouldn't sound genuine, but the people who took me in, they were all white, and I'm just saying America is really still full of great people. Like, you don't hear about this in the media, right? You just hear about all this crap. But if I were walking through Canada, I know I wouldn't have the same experience, and if I were walking through China, I don't think I'll have. I don't know, but I think it'll be a lot harder. You know, a lot harder. You people here have a lot of freedom. If I were walking through China, I don't think it would be very challenging. Like, I was born in China. They don't have that much freedom,
Right.
and Canada doesn't even have as much freedom as the U.S. So
Right.
be proud of this country. Say,
And don't take it for granted. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
country.
think there's also, as much as we might even still complain about the restrictions on freedom, there are so many freedoms that we have that we don't even exercise. So another takeaway that I'm drawing inspiration from your experience is just to look for the areas where we can exercise freedom that goes beyond the limits that we impose on ourselves, and to
Yeah.
sort of reach higher, but also importantly, as you mentioned, to know your limits. And maybe in terms of the long-term goal, think really big, but as you take steps to get there, to be okay with settling for shorter distance on one day. Or in the analogy, I guess it would just be yeah, so knowing your limits. And that's sort of one of my big themes, especially about physical fitness, is that we have to let our body have time to adapt
Yeah.
to the challenges and burdens that we're imposing on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One thing about walking is I noticed that before I left, I guess I had some kinks in my hip and a knee, maybe for parkour or something. But when I was walking so much, that it went away. I think
Wow.
it's because I got a lot of blood flow, a lot of movement.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
not
no kidding.
not like running. Running is more stressful. But when I'm walking, I get a lot of movement in those areas, and I didn't have that naggy, like a naggy little thing. You know, it's not like a big pain, but I had some things in my left hip and knee, and it went away when I was walking so much. So there's a
It's
lot of
amazing.
to walking. There are, and it's also different to walk with a pack than pushing a cart.
Mm.
I got a lot stronger wearing the pack. Like I lost a lot more fat. When I started pushing my cart, I gained some weight back.
Wow.
But then when I went back to my pack, I noticed the fat in my glove handles area. It went down big time again. Like I started with my pack, and then kind of in Idaho in the desert area and in most of the middle area states, I was pushing the cart for most of the trip really, and I needed it. The water issue is like you can't carry that much water. Even
Right.
when I carry my pack, I did make sure, you know, I since I'm not near streams, you know, I'm not in the wild, or like when you're walking on the backpacking trail, you're kind of, it's always like created next to a river. So you don't really have to worry about water. But when you're walking across a country, water is like a limiting factor when you're carrying the pack. But I did
That's
notice
interesting.
yeah, I noticed that I did lose a lot more fat carrying the pack.
And this gets into some questions I wanted to ask just on a practical level of advice that you have for people doing either a 50-mile march or, you know, just a long distance journey. You know, what kind of food did you pack? What would you stock up on when you'd reach civilization? And then, yeah, with water, what's the balance between carrying it and then, you know, trusting that a new supply of water is going to come up down the road?
For food, I did things a lot differently than what most people would say. Like I don't snack. I don't snack. Like I just would have. I experimented with different things. I experimented a lot of different things. But I don't snack in between meals, and I read that in other places how snacking is not really healthy for you.
Yeah.
It raises, like every time you eat, you have your insulin is being raised, and also it takes a lot of energy to digest food.
Hmm.
uh, but one thing is I don't snack, but also well, if you're doing a 50-mile march, you know, you, as humans you can go long, like you can go a long ways without food, you know,
Right.
like for a 50-mile march. I wouldn't I wouldn't bring much. I would
Yeah.
just bring nuts and
Yeah.
maybe some. Well, I would just bring nuts and some dark chocolate. And I eat a lot
Yeah,
of dark
that's the way.
chocolate. I love dark chocolate. Um, a lot of water. Make sure you have electrolytes. Like I
Okay.
use Noon. You know Noon, the Noon tablets.
Mm-mm.
I hold on a second. Let me see if I can get Noon tablets. Um, hold on.
Yeah, that's
Just
what I hadn't thought of. I guess what my friend brought some electrolytes the first time I did the 50-mile march, and those did help. Nate, I know
Yeah.
you're a fan and a proponent of Element.
Yeah. Yeah. They're
Noon
so
Noon.
necessary,
Noon
electrolytes.
tablets.
Noon.
Uh,
Okay, got it.
this is way better than Gatorade. This is
Yeah.
way
Oh,
healthier
yeah.
than Gatorade. Gatorade
They take out all the sugar and the bad
it's
stuff.
sugar. It is
Yeah.
sugar. This is like good electrolytes, some herbal extracts, herbal blends. But you need electrolytes if you're sweating a lot. I noticed when I was in the desert area, I wasn't getting enough electrolytes, and I felt zapped, totally
Yeah.
zapped.
Yeah.
You need electrolytes. Like water is more important than food. You know, like you have a lot of stored body fat on you.
Right.
If it's for a day, like a 50-mile march, I wouldn't bring that much food.
Yeah.
Just nuts. Like you want to go light, right? You don't want to. You're just carrying a day's supply of stuff.
For sure.
You can go. Yeah, I don't. You don't for a 50-mile march. You don't need
I've heard
that
that
much
most,
food.
even a person who's not overweight has enough fat stored on their body to walk from San Francisco to Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's amazing how we're built. We're like built for that endurance hunting and endurance movements. You know, that's how we hunted animals throughout our evolution. We just track them for hundreds and hundreds of miles until the animal fainted. You know, we just hunted them through exhaustion at first. You know, until we got some more advanced technologies. And yeah, we're built for that. And you don't need as much water as you need the electrolytes that come with the water, you know, because a lot of people, because a lot of people, they just chug waters on a daily with no electrolytes, and that's not healthy. You can easily overhydrate, you know, so definitely electrolytes are key.
Yeah, and if you're, let's say you want to walk fasted or something, you need even more electrolytes when you're fasting.
For sure.
You need a bunch, and
for sure.
Yeah, like
our water sources, our water sources used to be, you know, filled with electrolytes when we just drink from clean water sources. You know, the minerals are in the ground.
Yeah, there's a bunch of minerals.
We don't have that anymore because all our water is filtered.
But yeah, like don't like I had some. Oh, also one thing I want to mention is I experiment with different foods to eat in breakfast. I noticed that when I eat a big breakfast with like lots of protein, lots of eggs and stuff, I walk like crap.
Really?
I felt yeah, like for me, I would preferably like I eat most of, like if I had resources, I can't always carry a lot of fruit with me, but for breakfast, if I eat like mostly fruit and stuff, I walk really well. You know, when protein is hard to digest, it takes a while, and for me, I just like walk so much better and more energy when I eat fruit and for breakfast, and then for lunch I would eat nuts and dark chocolate, and then for dinner I would have my protein, I pack a lot of sardines and salmon.
Oh yeah.
So like
that's what we packed too on the 50-mile march.
Yeah, in the evening I would have the protein, most of the protein stuff, you know, and also it makes sense because you're going to repair your muscles throughout the night. And in the morning, like fruit is good for you. Like it is like you worry about the sugar, but if it's in a complete package, the way nature intended, it has so many benefits. And I'll probably eat some oats sometimes, oats in the morning. Like I have basically the breakfast would be healthy carbs, you know, like from natural sources and oats, and lunch would be like a lot more fat. Sometimes a combination, and then dinner it would be more protein emphasis. And if I could, I'll eat more salad if I could, but it's hard to do when you're traveling.
You can pick some dandelion greens along the road. No, but this is great stuff. I'm going to send this along to my email list, and especially to the people who are doing the march this coming weekend. We split it into 2 days just because we learned from last year that we have to heed our body's limits, and there's more elevation changes on this one. So I think it would probably take about 18 hours to try to do the full 50, and that's if you're walking at a good pace. So
it's hard to do 3 miles an hour. It is pretty
yeah, it
hard.
really is. Yeah.
It really
So
is. You
Yeah.
people
we're
think,
pacing.
3 miles an hour. No, you're walking like speed, almost speed walking.
Almost speed walking.
And
Yeah.
if you take break, it's over. You're not gonna
Right.
get 3 miles an hour. You just
Yeah.
take a break.
But I want to come back to something that you were talking about before with your hip, that kind of kink in your hip, and walking as a restorative movement is probably one of the best places for many people to start back on their journey of health and fitness, as opposed to going to the gym and doing sort of exercise that tries to brutalize you back into shape. And so I'm telling people that are signed up for the march, pick a section. A lot of people are going to do the full first day, I think, 22 miles, where we'll be taking lots of breaks along the way. But I think that they can probably expect to feel a little bit sore the next day, if they haven't been walking a lot. Any other advice in terms of foot care, or I'll also give you an opportunity here, since we're kind of coming to the end, just to talk about any other, care of the soul, spiritual wellness, or how do you take care of yourself over a long distance journey like that?
It's about the feet. I really recommend you for walkers to find a good shoe, like know a shoe they trust, and
Mm-hmm.
also make sure you have walked over 12 miles, preferably in those shoes, because your shoes will not reveal the truth until after the 10-mile mark.
Okay,
Like,
that's a
you're gonna
great
walk.
quote.
I was walking in
Yeah.
those shoes that where I got the huge blisters that were very minimalist for like 3-5 miles. That's not enough to know the truth about those shoes. You have to be walking over 10 miles in them. Then you'll realize, oh, it's rubbing too much here, too much there. If you save yourself some pain, do that homework. You need to do it, like for the 50-mile march. If you don't want to be in total pain with your feet, walk over 10 miles in them to see like how they really do. And yeah, that's like I think the most important advice I'll give, like for the shoes.
And then that's care of the souls. How about care of the soul?
So I did this mostly. I realized I was super distant from God. That's I don't know about your reviews, but like that's an important thing in this world to me. Like um, well, my like got me through this. There were some times where I was just super alone, and I do like spending time alone, but there are many stretches where you don't have any human interactions for days, like in Wyoming. No human interactions for many days, and also just know that to listen to your gut. Sometimes you need to walk a lot to get to the place, and sometimes you need to relax and enjoy yourself, enjoy your experience. This is why I didn't want to. At first, I expected myself to be done in 7 months, but I'm not regretting anything. I met so many good people. I spent several days with some families. It's really important to keep in mind to take care of your body and eat healthy, because there are many traps. There were some periods of time without, I can just eat a bunch of cookies and goods, and I know it didn't do me any good. Really, like there are some thru hikers when they like just gorge themselves on all these junk food from gas stations, or it actually it's not just a calorie. It's not just calories. It's
Right.
you're
Yeah.
going to feel some damages eventually.
Well, and I wonder if all that fish, the salmon and the sardines, were part of the restoration. I know that our bodies really need a lot of the things that you can only get from fish, and so it'd be interesting, to try the experiment of take out the walking portion and just eat what you were eating, and see if people's pain would go away just trying that. But I'm guessing that the walking is also an indispensable element of that. Uh, Nate,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? And do you have any kind of final questions or comments for Ying?
Yeah, and I think we covered all the bases, but yeah, like Ying said, find a good shoe, and it's going to depend on the trail you're walking. If you're walking on cement, barefoot is going to hurt. Walking on cement, we're not designed to hit those hard impact forces over and over again. We need variety. So if you can find a trail like you're doing this year, and stick to the trails if possible. Minimalist shoes, real comfortable shoes that will allow your foot to move freely. Stay hydrated, electrolytes, eat good quality food, and yeah, take care of yourself. Find that connection that you need to keep going, to stay strong, internally, externally. Yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, Nate. And Nate, you've got a new website. People can find your work at nateamado.com, and you're also on Instagram, out of prison now, at nate.amado.
Yep.
And Ying, I think I follow you on Instagram. I know that actually, and your Instagram name, I think it's Fighting Fit AF. Is that
Yes, it is.
so? That's where people can find you. Is there anywhere else where we should
uh,
look for you?
I'm on Facebook under my name Ying Zhang. There are a lot
Yeah.
of other Ying Zhangs. um, you'll see a picture of me, kind of that looks. You should see my face, like, yeah. I think I'm reaching up to something. I'm like doing
Uh-huh.
something hardcore. I think I'm doing a wall run and reaching up
Okay.
the
Yeah,
wall.
so
Nice.
so find Ying on Instagram and Facebook if you want to learn more about her story. And I'm telling you, you've got to really consider writing that book. Obviously,
Uh,
if it doesn't speak to you, then don't feel like you have to do it just for me. But I would certainly be first in line to read that. You've given a lot of really good inspiration as well as practical feedback. So I'm going to try to share this video far and wide. Anything else you'd like to say to people, either who are just for whatever stage of the journey of life they're on? Words of wisdom from someone who's walked 3,100 miles in the past year. What do you say?
Nearly 32.
Nearly
yeah, nearly
32.
three. uh, don't don't fear about things you can't control. There are just way too many things in this world you can't control. So just don't worry about it. And
Yeah.
the only thing you can do is doing your best. You can't fix the world. Only God can fix the world. Um, just do your best. When your heart is pure and you're intentionally like doing something because you want something, like you want to help. If your intentions are pure, you know, then that's really the best thing you can do in this world. If you have pure intentions, if you're not trying to like get something out of it, like, or like
Mm-mm.
it's something negative, or like when you like if you're a salesperson, you have intentions. But if your intentions are pure, that's really the best an individual can do in this world. And not fear about things you can't control, like this pandemic. A lot of things, go with your gut. I really believe your gut is your sixth sense, and I
Yeah.
think it's God. I think it's a God given sense. like when every time like something terrible happened to them, a lot of times it would be like, I felt something was off, but I didn't pay attention. I didn't like I didn't listen to my gut.
That's
and then a terrible thing happened.
That's a big theme in. Yeah. Go on.
Go with your gut, and it really will get you through. And just like don't fear about things, control, and have pure intentions. You can't.
That's a big theme in self-defense. Listening to your gut. A lot of people like the MoveNet Combatives event, or when teaching women self-defense or jiu-jitsu or whatever. A lot of people who are attacked say, "Yeah, I didn't." At first, they'll say, "Yeah, it just completely came out of nowhere," and then they'll start to think back. Actually, there was something kind of strange going on, but I thought, it's okay. I'll just ignore it. And so, listen to your gut for sure.
Amen to all of that. In the words of Father Padre Pio, pray, hope, and don't worry. I think that's timeless wisdom that we can all use a little bit more of. Well, I want to thank both of you, and especially Ying for being the inspiration to us that you are. It's
super inspiring.
It's really an honor and a privilege to talk to you about all this. And I hope that we can stay in touch. For people that are interested in participating in this year's march or organizing their own, I've got a page set up at anaturalmethod.com/march, and you can sign up for my email list and get the free guide to natural, efficient walking technique. And there's a lot there. We're going to be marching from Point Reyes to San Francisco over the course of 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, this Memorial Day weekend. And hopefully we'll revive a great American tradition going back to Teddy Roosevelt and JFK, calling on people to test their limits a little bit. And as Ying is saying, to also be able to put your trust in a higher power and see what you're capable of. So again, you guys, thank you so much, and I hope you'll have a great rest of your day. And onward.
I also want
see you on the road.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people who build you up. Like
Amen.
People sharpen other people. You need a good community. You really need a good community around you.
Yeah. Find your tribe, and if you need a tribe, then you can link up with ours. Come along this weekend. We've got a lot of great people joining.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, thanks again for taking the time, you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your vacation, Ying, and don't get stuck back in Seattle. Make sure you stay moving, stay on the move.
Do my best. Okay.
Yeah. See you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.